My name is Frank Morrison and I am 73 years old. I am a retired construction foreman, a widower of 10 years and a father of 3. My wife Margaret passed away from cancer when our children were grown and out of the house. She was the love of my life, the mother of my children and the only person who ever truly understood me. I spent my entire adult life building things, houses, bridges, roads, and a family. I thought I had built something that would last. I thought I had raised my children right. I thought they loved me. I thought they would always be there for me, the way I had always been there for them. But life has a way of showing you the truth when you least expect it. And sometimes, the truth is more painful than you could ever imagine. Thanksgiving was always a special day in our family. Margaret used to cook for days. The turkey would be golden brown, the mashed potatoes would be creamy and perfect, and the pies would be homemade with love. The house would smell of cinnamon and cloves and roasting meat. The table would be set with our best china, the one we only used for special occasions. The children would be running around, laughing and playing. The house would be full of love. After Margaret died, I tried to keep the tradition alive. I tried to host Thanksgiving at my house. I tried to make it feel like it used to, but it was never the same. The children grew up. They moved away. They started their own families. And somewhere along the way, I stopped being invited. My children are all grown now. My oldest, Derek, is 50. He's a successful businessman. He owns his own company. He makes a lot of money. He drives a luxury car. He lives in a huge house in an exclusive gated community. He has a wife named Vanessa and 3 children. My middle child, Jennifer, is 47. She's a doctor. She's successful, ambitious, and married to a surgeon named Richard. They have 2 children. My youngest, Daniel, is 43. He's an accountant. He's quiet, kind, and the one who reminds me most of his mother. He's divorced and has 1 child, a little girl named Sophie who I adore. Daniel calls me every week. He visits when he can. He's the only one who still makes an effort. I love all my children. I have always loved them. I gave them everything. I paid for their education. I co-signed their first loans. I was there for every milestone, graduations, weddings, the birth of their children. But somewhere along the way, I became invisible to them. They stopped calling. They stopped visiting. They stopped including me in their lives. I was old. I was a widower. I was a reminder of a past they wanted to forget. I was a burden. The Thanksgiving before everything changed, I didn't receive an invitation. Not a call, not a text, not even a card. I sat in my empty house looking at the photo of Margaret on the mantel and I felt a cold emptiness in my chest. I had spent the whole day hopping, waiting, praying that one of them would reach out. I had baked a pie apple, Margaret's favorite recipe. I had set the table for one, just in case. I had prepared myself for the possibility that no one would come. But when the phone didn't ring and the doorbell stayed silent, the reality hit me like a punch to the gut. I decided I wasn't going to let them erase me. I was going to show up. I was going to be present. I was going to remind them that I was still here, that I still existed, that I still mattered. I didn't care if I wasn't welcome. I didn't care if they were uncomfortable. I was their father. I had a right to be there. I drove to Derek's house. It was a cold November afternoon. The sky was gray. The leaves were falling. The drive took 45 minutes. I had put on my best sweater, the navy blue one Margaret had given me for Christmas years ago. I had combed my thin white hair. I had brought a bottle of wine, nothing fancy, just a decent red from the grocery store. I wanted to arrive with something. I wanted to show that I was trying. When I pulled up, I could see the house through the bare trees. It was a sprawling colonial with a long driveway, holiday lights already strung along the eaves. A half-dozen cars were parked in the driveway and along the curb. Expensive cars, luxury cars, cars that cost more than my house. I could hear music and laughter coming from inside. I could see shadows moving past the windows. I could smell the roasting turkey from outside. I took a breath. I was nervous. I wasn't sure if I was welcome, but I had come this far. I wasn't going to turn back now. I walked up to the front door and knocked. My heart was pounding. The door opened. Jennifer was standing there, a glass of wine in her hand, a tight smile on her face. She was wearing a silk blouse and tailored slacks. Her makeup was perfect. She looked like she had stepped out of a magazine. She also looked like she had just seen a ghost. "Dad," she said, her smile faltering slightly, "what are you doing here?" "Happy Thanksgiving," I said, trying to sound cheerful. "I thought I'd come by. I brought wine." She stared at me for a moment. She didn't take the bottle. Her eyes flickered behind me toward the driveway. I could see her calculating. I could see the discomfort settling in. I could see her mind racing, trying to figure out how to get rid of me without causing a scene. "Oh," she said. "Well, we weren't expecting you. It's a bit crowded already. We've got the Ingrams here, you know, Richard's partners from the practice, and the Parkers from next door. We're already at capacity." Capacity. It was a word I knew well in my family's vocabulary. It was code for you don't fit in. It was code for you're not welcome. It was code for please go away. "I'll just sit in the corner," I said. "I'll be quiet. I just wanted to see everyone. It's Thanksgiving, Jennifer. It's supposed to be a family holiday." She hesitated. For a second I thought she was going to relent. I thought she was going to let me in. I thought she was going to remember that I was her father, that I had raised her, that I had loved her. But then a voice called from inside the house, high and bright. "Jen, who is it? The turkey's getting cold." "It's Dad," Jennifer called back. I could hear the reluctance in her voice. I could hear the shame. I could hear the fear of judgment from her guests. There was a pause, then heavy footsteps. Derek appeared behind her. He was wearing a cashmere sweater and expensive slacks. His hair was perfectly styled. He was the picture of success. When he saw me, his face tightened. He looked like I had just ruined his perfect day. "Dad," he said, "what are you doing here?" The words hit me like a slap. There it was again. The same question, the same coldness, the same dismissal. I had driven 45 minutes to see my family, and they were asking me why I had come. "I came for Thanksgiving," I said, my voice thinner than I wanted it to be. "I thought I'd surprise you." "Well, you did surprise us," Derek said. He forced a smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. "And we're grateful. But like Jennifer said, we've got a full house. It might be better if you—" He gestured vaguely toward the door. The words hung in the air. "Leave. Go away. You're not wanted here." A dozen polite dismissals, none of which he had to say aloud. I understood perfectly. "We already started dinner," Derek said. "Could I get you a plate to take home, for later?" A plate to take home, like a leftover, like a stranger, like someone who didn't belong at the table. My throat tightened. I felt the tears pricking at my eyes. I felt the cold emptiness in my chest grow wider. "I don't need a plate," I said. "I just wanted to see everyone. I haven't seen the grandkids in months. Sophie was asking about me. Daniel said she wanted to see me." "Sophie is eating in the other room," Jennifer said quickly. "She's sitting with the other kids. You can see her later." I knew what that meant. I knew Sophie wasn't in another room. I knew they were trying to keep her away from me. I knew they were trying to keep me away from all of them. I knew they had told her to avoid me. I stepped inside the house. The warmth hit me. The smell of roast turkey, of butter and herbs, the sound of laughter from the dining room. I caught a glimpse of the table, the long mahogany table, the gleaming china, the guests in their fine clothes. Daniel was there at the far end trying to catch my eye. He looked uncomfortable. He looked embarrassed. He looked sorry. I wanted to believe it was just a mistake. I wanted to believe they were just busy, distracted, stressed. I wanted to believe they still loved me. But then I saw the way Derek and Jennifer exchanged a glance. I saw the way their guests looked at me. A stranger in a cheap sweater, a ghost from a past they didn't want to acknowledge. I saw the way my grandkids peeked around the corner and then quickly disappeared, as if they had been told to avoid me. They had been told, I knew it in my gut. Somewhere in that house before I had arrived, someone had given the instruction. Grandpa might show up, don't make a fuss, keep your distance. I could feel it in the air, I could hear it in their whispers. Why is he here? How did he find out? Who invited him? This is so awkward. I was an embarrassment, I was a relic. I was a fragile old man who couldn't let go. I walked into the living room. I sat down on the edge of a chair. No one came to talk to me. No one came to welcome me. The guests kept their distance. They smiled politely and then quickly turned away. They were like sharks circling, staying just out of reach. The music continued to play. The laughter continued to echo, but I was invisible. I was a ghost at my own family's gathering. I stared at the Christmas tree, at the ornaments I had given them over the years, at the memories that had been reduced to decorations, and I felt the cold emptiness spread. And then the doorbell rang. It cut through the murmurs and chatter like a blade. I saw Derek glance toward the front door with relief, as if this might be another of his business partners, someone to distract everyone from the uncomfortable father. Jennifer also looked relieved. She was already smiling, already walking toward the door, already reaching for the handle. But when she opened it, no one was smiling. I heard the crisp, official tone before I saw them. "We're looking for Frank Morrison. Is he here?" The voice was calm, practiced, professional. The room went quiet. No forks clinked against plates. No one laughed. The only sound was the humming of the refrigerator in the kitchen. Every head in the room turned toward the door, including mine. I saw two police officers standing on the front step. Their uniforms were sharp. Their faces were serious. One of them was holding a small notebook. The other was scanning the room, his gaze settling on me. I saw the way he looked at me, not with suspicion, not with menace, but with recognition. He knew who I was. He had been looking for me. "Mr. Morrison," the officer said, stepping forward, "we need to speak with you. It's about a matter we've been investigating. Could we have a word outside?" I felt the floor shift under my feet. My blood turned cold. I had no idea what was happening. I had no idea why the police were looking for me. I hadn't done anything wrong. I hadn't broken any laws. I was just an old man trying to have Thanksgiving with his family. But the way the officers looked at me, the way they spoke to me, made me feel like I was the one in trouble, like I was the criminal, like I was the suspect. "Dad," Derek's voice was sharp, demanding, "what have you done?" That was the moment I knew. That was the moment I realized that, in the eyes of my own son, I was not just a burden. I was a suspect. I was a criminal. I was someone to be distrusted. He didn't ask if I was okay. He didn't ask what was happening. He just wanted to distance himself from me. He just wanted to protect his reputation. He just wanted me to go away. "Nothing," I said, my voice steadier than I expected. "I haven't done anything. I have no idea what this is about." But even as I said it, I felt a chill down my spine. I had done nothing wrong, but someone had called the police. Someone had reported me, and I had a sinking feeling that it was someone in this room. The officers stepped aside. I followed them out of the house. I could hear the whispers behind me. What did he do? Is he in trouble? I always knew there was something off about that family. I kept walking. I didn't look back. I couldn't bear to see the faces of my children, the faces of my grandchildren, the faces of strangers who were judging me. It was cold outside. The wind was biting. The snow was falling. I stood on the front porch facing the officers. They were calm. They were professional. They were patient. "Mr. Morrison," the officer said, "we've received a complaint, an anonymous tip. Someone reported that you have been involved in an elder abuse scheme. They said you were being scammed by family members. They said you were being financially exploited by people close to you." I felt the world spin around me. I felt dizzy. I felt like I was going to be sick. Someone had reported that I was being scammed by family members. Someone had reported that I was being taken advantage of. Someone had reported that my own children were stealing from me. My mind raced. Who had made the call? Who knew? Who cared enough to intervene? "Who made the report?" I asked, my voice trembling. The officer glanced at his notebook. "The call was from a woman. She didn't leave her name, but she said you were vulnerable. She said you were being isolated from your family. She said your children were cutting off your access to your own accounts. She said you were being manipulated and financially abused. She said you were being forced out of your own home. She said you were being treated like a burden." I felt a cold rage build inside me. My children, my own children, they had been manipulating me. They had been stealing from me. They had been cutting me off from my own accounts. They had been treating me like a burden. They had been treating me like I was nothing. And someone had noticed. Someone had reported them. Someone had finally spoken up on my behalf. I don't know who made the report, I said, but I know who's been scamming me. My children, they've been stealing from me. They've been manipulating me. They've been trying to put me in a nursing home. They've been trying to take everything I have. I have bank statements. I have records. I can prove everything. The officer listened. He looked at his partner. He nodded slowly. "Mr. Morrison," he said, "we're going to need you to come down to the station. We're going to need you to make a formal statement. We're going to need you to tell us everything. We're going to help you, but you need to help us too. You need to give us the evidence. You need to give us the truth." The police investigation was thorough. They traced the money. They traced the accounts. They traced everything. My children had been stealing from me for years. They had been taking small amounts at first, then larger amounts. They had been using my money to fund their own lifestyles. They had been making decisions about my life without my knowledge or consent. They had been forging my signature on documents. They had been lying to me. They had been manipulating me. They had been treating me like a cash cow. Derek and Jennifer were arrested. They were charged with elder abuse, financial fraud, and theft. They were facing decades in prison. Their reputations were destroyed. Their businesses were ruined. Their families were broken. Their homes were seized. Their assets were frozen. They had nothing left. They had sacrificed everything for money, and now they had nothing. Daniel was devastated. He had no idea what his siblings were doing. He had been the only one who was actually taking care of me. He had been the only one who actually loved me. He had been the only one who hadn't been stealing from me. He was the only one who was innocent. I was grateful for that. I was grateful that at least one of my children had a conscience. I was grateful that at least one of my children still loved me. "I'm so sorry, Dad," Daniel said, tears streaming down his face. I didn't know they were doing this to you. I should have noticed. I should have paid more attention. I should have protected you." "Daniel," I said, "you did protect me. You were the only one who was there for me. You were the only one who loved me. You were the only one who didn't treat me like a burden, and I will always be grateful for that." Derek and Jennifer's trial was a media circus. Their crimes were front-page news. Their faces were on every television screen. Their names were on everyone's lips. They were found guilty on all charges. They were sentenced to long prison terms. The judge called their actions despicable and unforgivable. He said they had betrayed the trust of their own father. He said they had treated him like a commodity. He said they had shown no remorse. He said they deserved everything they got. It has been a year since that Thanksgiving. A year since the police walked through the door. A year since I found out the truth. A year since everything changed. I am Frank Morrison. I am 74 years old. I am a retired construction foreman, a widower, and a father. My family ignored me at Thanksgiving. They made me feel like I was invisible. They made me feel like I was nothing. They made me feel like a burden. But they didn't know that their own greed and betrayal would be exposed. They didn't know that justice was coming. They didn't know that someone was watching. They didn't know that someone cared. If you're watching this, please subscribe and share. And remember, sometimes the people who are supposed to love us the most are the ones who hurt us the worst. But you can survive. You can heal. You can move forward. You just have to be strong enough to fight for yourself. You just have to be strong enough to speak up. You just have to be strong enough to ask for help. I am Frank Morrison. I am a survivor, and I will never let anyone take advantage of me again. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a life to live and a family to love. I have a son who loves me and grandchildren who need me. I have a future to build and a past to let go of. And that's exactly what I'm going to do.